Hi guys, in this episode we're going to be taking a look at the Cube Controls GT Pro. The version of the rim that I'm looking at today is mounted to an OMP wheel. It's been a little while since we did a hardware review, but as I'm waiting for some parts for my DIY project, I thought this would be a great opportunity to look at this wheel and put it through its paces. So let's get to it. So the shipping box for this is branded but mostly plain. You don't want to give away what's inside the box. Inside the shipping box you have another blue box which gives away the goodies a little bit more with some nice branding and a splash of colour. On opening the box you get the usual motivational quotes and a foam covering on the top of your wheel. Taking off that foam covering reveals the wheel in all its glory. Sans stickers because you've got to put those on yourself. The wheel feels like it's well protected in the box and I don't think you're going to have too many problems with shipping. The way this is laid out gives you a good look at what you're going to be getting, and you don't have to worry about the stickers and the documentation until you've had a good oogle of your new wheel. Under the wheel tray you get this lovely set of stickers, you have some tools to work with your wheel, and you have the instruction manual. Cube Controls have opted to use a different head to the standard hexagonal pattern that you might be used to, but they provide the tooling that you need to work with that, so it's not a big deal. The wheel comes with a pre-mounted adapter so you can mount it to your rig, and getting this thing mounted up to the SRM wheel emulator that I'm using here was a simple affair. I can't imagine this will be much more difficult with a podium hub or the other hubs that you get provided with different wheel manufacturers. On mounting this, I opted for the spanner head bolt, as that gives you a little more clearance and easy access to actually screwing it on tightly onto your hub. Cube Control here do give you a supply of various different bolts and nuts and spanners, so you can use whatever you feel most comfortable using on your hub. On the button box on the wheel you have two latching toggle switches which light up when they're in the on position. You have two on-off-on toggle switches, that gives you two controls on each. You have four rotary switches, two special purpose momentaries, and a further three momentary switches. You also have access to a funky switch, which is great if you are working in VR or needs to navigate in general. All the momentary switches are backlit. The two special case ones that we're talking about also flash when they are toggled on. This is all done in hardware, so if you're using the backlit toggle switches or the special momentaries, you have to make sure they're in the right state before you go into your game, otherwise you'll essentially be inverting their behavior. On the back side of the wheel, we have two magnetic shifters. They're adjustable both in how far away they are from the rim and how long they are. However, there doesn't seem to be a way of adjusting resistance. Out of the box, the shifters are quite close to the rim, so I personally had to adjust them a little bit further away just so I didn't accidentally hit them. Adjusting them is a simple affair. You just loosen up the bolts responsible for the positioning, move it to the place that you need it to be in. This might take a little bit of force, and then tighten them back up. Back here you also have the USB port, which is at a 45-degree angle facing away from the rim, and the supplied USB cord is quite industrial in looks. Unlike some of Fanatec's rims, the rotary dials on this wheel are aluminium, so you have no risk of snapping them when trying to remove them. You have a little grub screw that you have to undo and then they lift off. Now the stickers available for the dials might seem quite limited. You do have the ability to transfer over different labels to those stickers that gives you a little bit more flexibility. I think one thing the Fanatec button caps have as an advantage over this is that they have that little indent around them, which means when you place the stickers, it is placed centrally very easily. With these, you have to take some care to make sure that they are placed in the right position. Otherwise, if you are a little bit OCD, that means you're probably going to have to remove them and stick them on again. However, these stickers, there are plenty of options to choose from, and they have a reasonable look and feel to them. Once they're on the backlit buttons, they show up nicely with the glow of the particular button that they're attached to. The feel of the genuine OMP rim is on point, as you'd expect from such a part. It has some nice sculpting around the grips, but it also feels just as comfortable around the rim itself. It's a little larger than the R300 that I'm used to, and I think that actually helps with some of those fine movements that you have to do behind the wheel. Overall, it's not much different to any other round rim you might be trying out. However, the girth of this wheel is quite helpful for those with larger hands. But I imagine it's as equally comfortable for those with smaller hands. As a VR racer, you have to be able to feel for your buttons and be able to know when they've been activated. And this is where the Cube Controls GT Pro really excels. The buttons are very responsive. You can audibly hear them click, but also you can feel when you've put enough pressure to activate them. And that's the same for the rotaries as well. The indents there are very noticeable when you're driving, even through gloves. Unfortunately, the same can't be said for the shifters. Whilst you know when you've activated them, they're a lot lighter than what I'm used to for magnetic shifters. It's not to say they're bad, but I would have liked to have the option to have a bit more resistance there. So it's final thoughts time. The hardware is very well put together, and the aluminium knobs on the rotaries is a nice touch. The guards around the buttons are also well positioned and stops you from accidentally activating them as you're sliding to, say, the toggle buttons. Using any of these buttons, you have a good indication of when they've been activated, and this is very helpful if you are racing in VR or using gloves. The design choice of having the buttons flash in hardware is interesting. On the one hand, you don't have the need for software to be installed, but on the other, you have to make sure they've been toggled into the right position before you go in race. Otherwise, essentially, their functionality is inversed. And whilst a VR racer isn't going to notice so much, someone racing on pancakes, if that flashing is going on throughout your whole stint in a race, it's going to be pretty annoying. So you do have to make sure that you've reset that before you go into your stint. This isn't a cheap wheel, and as global shortages are biting us in our wallet, the cost has gone up considerably over the last few months. However, this isn't unique to Cube Controls, and you can see this across the board in most of your hardware needs. Still, if you have budgetary concerns, this wheel might not be for you. Value is quite subjective. The aluminium knobs, the guards surrounding the buttons, the quality of the buttons, the backlights, they all add up and make this feel like a premium product. And it definitely feels like less of a toy than a great deal of Fanatec's range. Even the Podium branded wheels feel a little less sturdy than this. I'm going to be driving around with this for the next few months. It has all of the features that I need as a VR racer, and only time will tell whether this becomes a permanent occupant of the sim racing cupboard. I hope you've enjoyed this quick Cube Controls GT run through. If you have and you like the idea of using the OMP rim, you might need to get in quick because I believe this particular model is soon to be discontinued. However, I can't imagine that the standard GT Pro is much different. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And until next time, guys, see you soon. Bye-bye.